Thank you, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. As was said, my name is Reid Abedeen. I've been in the financial industry for over 20 years now. My role as an advisor has totally shifted over the years. And so our focus has always been to make people a more informed consumer, not transactional. And so I always ask people when I sit down with them, what is the role of an advisor? For you golfers out there, recently I was at Torrey Pines at the Farmers, and I was really paying attention to the caddies and the communication they had with the golfer. And obviously they would teach them kind of, hey, here's where the trouble lies, aim right, aim left. And that is the role of an advisor. And so recently we just did a webinar for our clients, and Carolyn Collins, our communications director, was able to get an acting FBI agent to talk to our clients regarding the scams and how many there are. And it's absolutely shocking. So we've all heard of the scams when it comes to, the Amazon and Bitcoin. There's love scams now. I mean, they're drastic. And so in August of last year, came back from vacation, received a check from the IRS, large check. So I call Monday morning and I asked the agent, I said, hey, I received this check. There was just no documentation with it. What is it for? And the guy said to me, it was for your refund for your taxes. And I said, okay, well, what year? And he said, 2023. And I said, I haven't filed my taxes. And so he put me on hold, comes back, and he said, yeah, we tried to do a direct deposit. It got rejected. And so we sent you the check. And I said, listen, this is not my tax. I have not filed my taxes. And he said, look, we have Evelyn Cook out of Roseville, California, CPA, who filed your taxes. I said, sir, this is not my CPA. It was a large check, by the way. So I get off the phone, I call this CPA, Evelyn Cook. I have an office a block away from her, thinking that somebody went and impersonated me, because all my documents are encrypted, protected. And so I ended up getting a hold of her a day later. We ended up chatting. She said, yeah, scammers come and they try and get their PIT number for CPAs. I got all the transcripts from the IRS, by the way. And so somebody got a hold of my W-2s, filed the tax return, got the CPA's PIT number for a refund. The following day, I called the state of California. Well, the state of California deposited the money in the fraudster's account. Yeah. So prior to leaving on vacation, my son, my youngest, because I file all their returns, got a check for $165. I gave it to him, thinking nothing of it. I call the IRS. They got a hold of his W-2s. So I hope everyone writes this down. It's called an IP PIN. Everyone should be filing an IP PIN. What that does is anyone who files a return cannot file it without the PIN that the Internal Revenue sends to you individually. Now, guess how much work I had to do to fix all this? It's still in it's drastic. So my CPA did not tell me about this. And a day later, after all this was going on, I called my friend and I'm like, hey, this is what happened. And I said, you should file an IP PIN. And he's like, yeah, I've got one of those. So really, what did my CPA do for me in this case? And it's still going on. So you should file an IP PIN. It takes you 5 minutes. No one can file the return for you in that case. So I'll move a little bit further in this. About a year ago, I had a client of mine. She lost her husband, started withdrawing money from her accounts. And I'm kind of sharing with you the level of sophistications that are happening currently. So she was pulling money out of her account, no big deal. She's entitled to do whatever she wishes. And then she wanted to close a large account out. I called her up, said, hey, the money's going to come to you in a wire. Is everything okay? She said, yeah, I'm repairing the house. There's construction issues. Okay, no problem. I said, Jane, are you okay? I said, you want to talk to your son about it? She goes, no, Reid. She goes, just trust me. Everything is fine. So the Thursday prior to the wire going out, I called her up and I said, hey, Jane, it's going to come to you. I said, are you sure you want to do this? She said, yes. I said, Jane, is everything okay? She goes, Reid, I can't tell you. So I convinced her to come in. I don't want to drag this all out, but ultimately she told me that her identity was stolen. And I asked her, I said, okay, well, why are you closing your accounts out? She said, well, no, Reid, you don't understand. I am working with the Federal Trade Commission. And I said to her, Jane, you have been scammed. She said, no, Reid, you don't understand. I'm working with them. They're protecting my identity. I got her son involved. We were able to stop the one transfer. But here's my point. The scammers have become so sophisticated that they told her that we are in the process of eliminating suspects. So who would have your access to your social security number? Maybe your financial advisor, your son. So don't tell them this stuff until we eliminate them. So it doesn't end there because, and just to let you guys know, she was cashing out checks, taking a picture of it, putting it in a box, and a courier would come to her house and pick it up. By the way, this is not a dumb lady, very smart lady, but they're becoming that sophisticated. So she ended up giving about $400,000. Bigger challenge, she owes the Internal Revenue $180 now. $180,000, because the IRS doesn't know if she took it and went to Vegas, had a good time, she's gonna owe this to the IRS and there's no getting out of it. None. So I'm gonna come back to that question of the role of an advisor. It is not a transactional one. So as I mentioned, I was in the financial industry. I'm in it. I learned early from watching my father, very smart man, God rest his soul, retired doctor, PhD in English and education. I saw him in the 80s investing in the markets, thinking he can calculate it. So in the early 80s, when it crashed, he panicked, made a knee-jerk reaction. So what does one do when they lose money? They try and make a big windfall and get it all back. So what does he do? He invests with two of his good friends in limited partnerships. If you know anything about limited partnerships in the 80s, a lot of them collapsed. And so that's what happened to recoup it. I remember as a kid seeing my mom and dad arguing over money. And so it caused a lot of issues for him later on in life. As he got older, he didn't trust anything. He ended up with all, money markets, CDs. He didn't trust anything. But here's what he really didn't trust: himself anymore, his own judgment. So it's important, the role of an advisor is to customize. So how do you avoid all of this? There are 8 things that we look at when it comes to designing a structured plan. And I'll list them, and we have them provided for everyone at the back here. But there are 8 things that we tend to look at in customizing a plan as opposed to just cookie cutter, one size fits all. Risk should be considered, of course. Is it the right amount for the person and their taste? Number 2, your biggest expense moving forward is government taxes. How do you keep those under control as business owners, entrepreneurs, successful people in retirement? 3, what your internal costs are on the investments. We never go shopping and we don't know the price tag. I can't tell you how many people that come into my office that are unaware of what their internal costs are. 4, everyone should be doing Roth conversions or some type of Roth planning for future taxation. If you are not, you're going to be in that category of when taxes go up eventually, you're going to be left picking up the bag. 5, income planning. That's really for people who are approaching retirement or they have that window of when they retire. Number 6 is health care, because as we are living longer, this is creating an impact on our investments. Number 7 is wealth transfer. If we don't use it, where it's going to go. Look, I have 3 kids. I always tell people, when my wife and I pass away, the eldest is going to have a Lamborghini in the driveway. The other 2 don't think this way, but I'm going to make sure I've structured our wealth transfer based on our family dynamic. And last but not least, which is a part of the planning now, is your identity theft. Because it is becoming more and more sophisticated, and you need to make sure that you have stuff protecting you. So not only have we provided you these 8 lists that you should be considering, we've also provided you with an identity theft checklist of what steps you need to take to make sure you have safeguards on your identity. So I want to thank you for your time, and I want to wish you continued success.